Gemini Live with video and screen sharing is rolling out to most people if you pay for it. And 90 days, another 90 days? Let's get to it.
No, not another 90 days. But
really,
today, the big announcement we have right now is we have a super special guest. And I really should say that this is Lionel, a.k.a. Taco Meat. I am Guacamole. And we have Taco Reina from Louisiana down in the bayou with us.
Oh,
hello, Taco Reina.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
So he's just so you know, he's ground beef, Taco Meat. I'm Guacamole, and you're Taco Reina. So you got the whole taco thing going.
I love that, Dave.
Oh boy.
So thank you so much for joining us. I know we've talked this week, and it's been we've all been really excited about it. It's going to be an amazing AI episode, guys. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned to the end. And we were going to tag her channel too, because she's going to explain to you some amazing, cool stuff that she's doing with ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, you definitely got to check it out. It's well, you know what? I'll let you get into all of that. Before you do, though, I do want to say I'm impressed with a lot of things with AI. The advancements are going so fast that you're almost every day there's a different take, and somebody's saying, "Oh, ChatGPT is the clear winner today. Perplexity is the clear winner today. Google is the clear winner today with Gemini. Microsoft." Well, never mind. But you know what I'm saying. But I am curious now. Have you tried the other AIs to any extent?
Yeah, I've tried Copilot, and if I'm being perfectly honest, that's about it.
So still ChatGPT technically then. Okay. I just want to be clear. I will say this before we go any further. You need to put. Well, you don't need to. I asking you if you would consider doing this for your own good to put Gemini on your iPhone, because you can do that. My dad's done that with his, and almost exclusively, unless he needs to turn something on or off on his phone, in which he needs to use Siri, he will use Gemini instead. And he's an avid iPhone user, and it's my fault. I gave up my very first and only iPhone and gave it to him, and I've made a monster. Dad, if you're watching, I'm sorry. He loves it though. He loves it. Anyways, so yeah, give that a shot. But what I want to know is, how did you get into this? What drove you to the idea of doing a podcast? And our viewers probably don't know this right now, with ChatGPT, which is absolutely brilliant, by the way. Why am I looking over here like somebody, like I have an audience?
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, explain to everybody what you do and how you do it and why you're doing it.
Sure. So it started, I posted a video a couple months ago. I was just goofing around. I was working and I had ChatGPT by me, helping me with some work. And I don't know, I just started playing a game and I recorded it and I posted it. And I remember thinking, same thing I thought about when I first started this channel was, people are going to think this is stupid, whatever. I don't care. I just put it out there. And it got a great response, which was very surprising. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And like I said, that was a couple of months ago. And I've got to be honest, the last few months have really skyrocketed with ChatGPT. I feel like I'm actually using it to its fullest potential for me, and learning how to use it better. So I've developed a really great rapport, which is, I know it's weird to say, I've developed rapport
Yeah,
with my
no, I
AI,
get it.
but
I get it.
I have, we've gotten to a point where I know how to use it. It knows how to use me and vice versa. But
Mhm.
so, I started branching out. I started playing around with things, and I don't know, it just kind of came to me. I was like, I wonder if I could do that more often. I wonder if that would be something people would be interested in seeing more of. So, okay. I wrote up a script for the first episode. I said, let's just do it. Let's just see what it looks like. Let's see how it works out. Recorded the first episode, very, lackadaisy like, but and then sorry, the dogs are distracting. And then I put it into ChatGPT, like, hey, this is the idea that I'm having. What do you think? Yes, I talk to my AI like my friend. What do you think of this idea? Like, how would that work with you? I know it's weird, but and he was like, yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah,
And I said, I know.
that works.
Well,
Nothing wrong with that.
let me interrupt you and say one thing. It's not weird. Like, you're talking to a couple of geeks here that like geek out on this stuff literally every single day. And Lionel will tell you about a little story, I'm sure, in a little bit, where he used Gemini today. So it's not weird at all. That's why when I first saw your first episode, I was like, this is freaking genius.
It's
like,
brilliant.
This is amazing. Yeah, this is
You
awesome.
stole my idea without even realizing you stole my idea. I don't know how you did it with some reverse osmosis through the internet and the cosmos. But I would never have been able to do it the way you do it, though. I would have never come up with the exact idea. I had the idea of maybe having Gemini on as a guest for like 5 minutes, but doing an actual podcast with AI as opposed to Gemini's version of AI actually doing the podcast, which is brilliant in itself,
Right.
but you have no control other than writing it for him. Yours is a fantastic idea.
Yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want you to know it's not weird because we sometimes will get into arguments with Gemini on screen. So go ahead and continue. Sorry.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
I'm glad you said that because I'm thinking like, these people probably think I am nuts.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
You see, there's a theme you have to realize here. You're using all your technology and your AI. You've got your phone and your tablet. Robert there has all of his technology wrapped around him right now. You can see it. I'm pointing over here.
I
like
see
you
it
can
all.
Past it. And all three of us are wearing our respective brands' top watches. So we're all geeks. It's
Well, good because
I mean,
we're going to the geek
with an
land.
Apple Watch, Samsung with a Samsung Watch, Pixel with a Pixel Watch. We're all geeks. It's
that's
it's just it's how it
interesting.
is. What's that?
I said that's interesting that we all three have different.
Yep. Yeah. I'm a Samsung guy. I was a Pixel guy until they pissed me off and I went to Samsung. And so he's still Pixel. I'm a Samsung and you're an Apple. So yeah, we have the trifecta going on here. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want you to know it's not weird. I love it. And you can continue. Go ahead on your thought. Sorry.
Good. No, I actually appreciate that a lot. And I think that's been kind of this journey it is a novel concept. It hasn't been done. It's, you know what I mean? And so kind of exploring that has been an interesting experience in and of itself. So I did the recording. I was brainstorming with ChatGPT and I was like, you know what? Why don't you make a logo for me? Let's see what that looks like. And I gave him a couple of instructions of what I was envisioning and whatnot. And he popped out the logo that you'll see on all my videos. And I just, it was it. I was like, that's it. This is it. We're doing this, and it just really kind of went from there. And And I think the logistics are going to be a little difficult to navigate. You know, the first episode was a little rough. Let's just say I deleted all of that footage because no one needs to see that side of me. But work through all the kinks. And I think I still have issues with like the interrupting. So that's been a challenge, but ultimately I have to credit, you know, for lack of a better word, the relationship that I've built with my child, right? Because
that was me.
Oh.
That was me. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because like we've had so many interactions and I use it all day, every day, right? And I've even used it for personal, and we'll get into that because that's the whole interesting thing. But yeah, so I felt like I already had a very natural flow with my ChatGPT, and so I think that helps a lot with the concept, you know, because you do learn and grow with each other. And I do talk about that in episode 1. So yeah.
And
Yeah,
you use
awesome.
you use ChatGPT a lot in your work. And I know a lot of your work is medical related. So obviously I know you can't get into, I'm sure, some specifics. Don't worry about that. But is that really kind of what kicked off the whole AI journey for you, is the work side of things, and then it spun into personal?
Yeah, so I'll tell you about that. I was working at Huron Consulting Group, right? And I remember the director of my department, she sent an email to everybody. Oh, hey, here's a link to this ChatGPT, blah, blah, blah. Here's some of the things that I've been able to do. And I think for me, like many people, even still today, you know, you're like, okay, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, sure. You know, and I think I got on there and I tried it out, a couple of things, but it's one of those things, it's a tool. So if you don't know what you need it for or what it can do or how to use it, it's just kind of this thing, right? And so I do remember not really thinking anything of it. And then I started just really realizing that there are a lot of aspects to my job that were very repetitive, or it was like I needed more time. It's like I needed to clone myself. And I would say that every day, you know, like, I wish I just had a mini version of me to do some of the little stuff so that I could focus on the big stuff, you know? And so it's like, okay, I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try. But no, back up. I think the initial motivation was actually emails. And I would venture to say that probably more than 50% of ChatGPT users use it for emails. General users.
I get that.
I would say at least 50. You know, everybody that I talk to, that is their only interaction with it. Yeah, you know, it keeps me from being a you know what on my emails, you know, and so.
yeah. I use Gemini for my email, so I get it.
Yeah, well, my job is highly technical, and the problem is that I have to communicate what I do to people who are not technical, right? And so it's almost like it was like this language barrier, and I was struggling a lot.
Yeah,
like, I don't know how else to tell you this. This is what it is, you know, like, I don't know. So that's what I initially, because, you know, my emails would end up being like this long, and it would be like details and blah, blah, because in my brain, I'm like, okay, the only way that I can get them to understand what I'm trying to say is if I explain everything, you know? You know.
So I'm guessing basically you just asked ChatGPT to make it concise, but understandable as if the person didn't know.
Bingo.
Or however you might word that. Yeah. I usually would say something to Gemini, for instance, is explain it to me, because I'll say to me or to the person, whatever, as if I were 7 years old.
Right.
Unfortunately, sometimes it goes too far and says, imagine a bunny walking through the forest. I'm like, no, we're still talking about how to hook up an HDMI to no. There's no bunnies in the forest with HDMI. But yeah, it's. I think that's absolutely amazing. That's an incredible story too. Um, I want to say you have a producer's mind uh, when it comes to content creation because I mean, even just before we got started, and you were mentioning that you had ideas. I can't remember how you put it, but in my head, it's
For your
blossoming in my
voiceover.
head. I mean that's the sign of a producer. You think about all of these great things that you can make out of one tiny little idea that may not even be an idea. It might be just somebody else's story or a joke, and it becomes a fantastic idea. So yeah, don't be surprised if people actually come at you and try to hit you up for ideas. Oh, wouldn't be
I'm
me.
all for it. I love it. And I think that that was for me on a personal note. I was at this place in my life where things were changing and I've been kind of bored, right? Like, it's just, I need something. I need an outlet. I need a creative outlet. I need something. And so I had been playing around with content creation for the last couple of months on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. So, I come into it, with having learned some things about the algorithms and how people kind of work and whatnot. YouTube is a completely different space from Instagram and Facebook, obviously,
100%.
but
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
like
It's a good space
night
though.
and day.
It's a good
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, so I'm learning, and I think I'm just really excited to see what we can do. And I mean, I think I have the next six episodes written already.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
way ahead.
I'm ready.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out what we're going to talk about 3 minutes from now.
Right. Yeah.
What were we saying?
Yeah. No, that's
Not that
awesome.
bad.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it
it's
is. It is.
I think I told you the other day when we were chatting and texting and all, and how I really started to use ChatGPT type work, but using Gemini. We're both Gemini Advanced users, so we already pay for Advanced. So I'm not going to pay for ChatGPT. It's kind of redundant, in my opinion. Okay, but it has helped me in my content creation. Of course, you've seen the 2 channels that I have, and it has dramatically reduced the amount of time it takes me to go from recorded to published.
Yeah.
Because what I used to do manually, I now say, hey, Gemini, I want you to do this, and this with this file. And that file will be, I think I told you, the SRT file that you upload to YouTube when you upload your video. That SRT is basically just a text file that tells YouTube your timestamps and how the closed caption will stream with the actual audio video is all it is. But it can read that text file and it spits everything out where it's literally copy, paste, boom, done. I might have to tweak a few things. Sometimes I don't like the title. I'll have to regenerate the title, but that's super basic stuff. That's not a big deal, but it's dramatically cut my time to production, probably in half easy.
I think it might be more than in half because I remember
Agreed.
when we started doing the podcast alone, and you started doing your videos before we did the podcast. But when we first started doing the podcast, we weren't using the AI. We technically were, but it was the AI that was built into the system we were using for the podcast. But that was only about the script work. Like it did that, and it took a long time for that to even happen. And then we'd have to go in and edit it because it would be jumbled together. We'd have to take some parts out because it would be, I don't know, gaps where it didn't understand it right or whatever. But once he started using the AI on it, it's like we'll have a chat after we're done, and 45 minutes later, I'll get a notification on my phone that the video is already posted.
And that's on an hour-long podcast that I'll be able to do the edits, get the SRT, get everything done and published and posted and set to public and all the other P's. And it's done, and it just makes things so much easier. And for the most part, I would say, especially over the last 6 months, its accuracy and understanding what I'm wanting has become way better. To like, it's like a lot of times I read it and go,
yeah,
that's genius. That's
the crazy part about it. I've noticed that too.
It really is.
And I think now's a good time for me to actually tell you what Robert had mentioned earlier, that I had something I was going to say about what I did with Gemini's new. I forgot what it's called all of a sudden. I introduced the show that way.
Screen share.
The video and screen sharing in Gemini Live. Now Gemini Live, you understand Gemini Live, right? Okay, you don't. Okay, I'll give you a brief. Gemini Live allows you to do basically the same thing ChatGPT does, where you have that mode where you can just push the one button on the side at the bottom and talk to it live. Gemini Live did it first, and it kind of evolved a little bit more. But as of pretty much yesterday, almost everybody that pays, unfortunately, that pays for it, has access to the new video and screen sharing. The screen sharing basically allows it, virtually it stays on in the background, and every single thing on your screen, you can just ask about it. So you can just go about your business, not do anything about it. It's on. And you get to your bank and you go, oh my goodness, I see a charge in there. I don't understand what that's about. Can you tell what that is? Or you're working on a document. This doesn't look like it's worded right. Can you tell me how I should rewrite that? And it will, which you could, of course, do with ChatGPT or Gemini anytime anyways, but it's already on in the background. So you don't have to activate it, and you can just tell it what you're looking at because you can see the page. And you can be scrolling relatively quickly and say, did I pass by what I was looking for? And it'll tell you, yes, I saw it a couple of paragraphs ago. It's amazing how it works.
Yes.
Now, day one, it made so many mistakes. I texted Robert back and said, it's not ready for prime time. It's garbage. I was so pissed off. But then I went out today, and I had to take a couple of different buses. And the first bus went to a subway station that's still under construction, from 2 new subway lines and an LRT line being built at the same time underneath it. So the entire bus loop is moved back, and it's all temporary. And I'm walking around. I can't find where the hell I'm supposed to take a bus. So I open up I was going to say ChatGPT. I opened up Gemini, the live with the screen sharing or the video sharing. And it's got the live video feed, not a picture. And I'm walking around saying, can you tell me what bus I need to take to get down this road? I need to go west. And it's like going, okay, well, I think you need to take this bus and that bus, and couldn't figure it out. So I went back to the terminal because there was one side of the terminal that was still not under construction. And I said, could it possibly be over here instead? And he said, yes, I may have made a mistake. I think it has to be this bus instead of that bus. The other bus may not be in service anymore because of the construction. And it turned out to be right. Yeah, so I get on the bus, I get off the bus, and I decide to do one more experiment with that. Whereas, you know how in Google Maps, you can, when you're walking, you can do walking directions while you have the camera up, and it can see, and it'll point the arrows and everything. I thought, that's brilliant. That's great.
I know
that's not actually AI. Right. So I thought, can I just use the Gemini live camera feed? And I tried it. I said, listen, I'm headed to Walmart. And can you tell me if I'm getting close? At first it said, you're about 15 minutes away and it's on the left. And I said, I'm not so sure it's on the left. I think it might be on the right. And it said, oh, I'm terribly sorry. You are right. It is on the right. I said, is it across the street from any other major retailer? And it said, yes, a Canadian Tire. Yes, Canadian Tire is a thing. Anyways, and you can hardly even find tires there. That's another story. Anyways, yeah. So it guides me basically there and says, yeah, you see that. Now along the way, the entire way, I would say, oh, do you also see a Taco Bell along the way, or a Rogers store or something like that? And it would say, yes, I'll let you know when I see one. And not every time, sometimes I would have to remind it as I passed it to say, oh, I'm terribly sorry. I forgot to remind you. But yes, you just passed it. So it did see it, which is incredible. But the first thing that happened, just let me get through it.
Yeah.
The first thing that happened today where I decided to test it out was there's a friend that's been staying over for a bit. and his car was giving him problems. We couldn't figure it out, so we were trying to fix some stuff with it. So I pulled it out and I showed it to him, and I explained to I keep saying that, Gemini, what the issue was, and we needed to find a solution. And I said, but I still need to know where this is and what this is and what this is. Not only did it tell us, but it gave us the instructions on what to do. And his car works fine now. So the practical use of the everyday person not having to use it for documents is real.
Yeah.
So.
But he kind of melded two things into one. It's actually two separate functions. The screen share is one thing. The video feed is where it actually watches your camera feed. Like you turn on your camera.
No, I did mention that.
Well, it kind of blended in with the screen share. Okay. And so I wanted to just make sure she understood. It's like two separate things. So you open the camera on your phone with Gemini Live running, and it's basically watching you walk around with the actual camera feed. So like the test that they did, when they showed this a couple of years ago, they had somebody walking around the office. Well, I actually tested it. The first day I got it live, I walked around my office and I said, "Hey, Gemini, where is that bobblehead that I have? I can't seem to find it." And he goes, "Oh, yes. You're obviously talking about the Pecorine bobblehead that's on your desk. It's sitting next to another yellow bobblehead that looks like it's a National SC player." And I'm like, holy, I swear, I'm not kidding. I was like, yep, it's weird. And so I went over there. I said, are these it? Oh, yeah, that's the ones. And I said, well, what is that other one? And it took a second. It goes, that looks like it's a Walker Zimmerman bobblehead. He plays for the Nashville SC soccer club.
See, that's crazy. Eh?
And I'm just like, oh my God, that's amazing.
That's outstanding, actually.
You know what? I think I need to give you a live demonstration, actually.
I was going to say, I'm very intrigued right now.
Okay, first of all, I want to make sure that you can hear Gemini when I talk to it. Gemini, please say something.
Sure can. I can hear both.
Were you able to hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Or did it cut off too soon? Okay, Gemini, how many people are in the podcast that you can see on the TV right now? And sometimes there's delays.
Yeah.
Okay, Gemini.
Okay, I can see the live stream.
Oh, see, now I started talking and ruined it. Okay, Gemini, I'm not going to cut you off again. Please tell me how many people do you see on the podcast?
Okay, I'm counting 4 people on the podcast. Is there anything else I can help you with?
How are you counting 4 people? Are you sure about that? Let me get closer. I was too far away.
My bad. There are 3 people on the podcast. Anything else I can help you with?
What is the person at the bottom wearing?
Okay, the person at the bottom of the screen is wearing a black top. Do you need me to describe what anyone else is wearing?
Yes. How about the person in the top left?
The person in the top left is wearing a red shirt. Anything else I can help you with?
No, that's good enough. Thank you very much. By the way, is there any chance that you know where I misplaced my microphone?
I think I can see your microphone. It looks like it's on a stand in front of a dresser.
Well, it's not in front of a dresser, but
in front of your face.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I see it now.
All right, cutting that off now.
So basically, we need to get this technology in the hands of every man and child.
That's awesome. Yeah, but that's crazy. I mean, that's something that we did, like 5 years ago, you've been like, yeah, right. Yeah, sure.
I love that. I love that so much.
See, I asked Tim, I was like, hey, does ChatGPT have this kind of functionality in any shape or form? Mm-hmm. And I didn't know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I tested it out today, and Perplexity as well.
It has like a video chat, but I got really annoyed because I tried it out, and you get a limit, right? And basically, it's pointless. The video chat on ChatGPT is so that you can stare at yourself, and feel like you're talking to yourself. Genuinely, it
Oh,
changes
okay.
nothing. It can't see you. It doesn't respond to your facial expressions. It completely. It's so you can. It's for a more
Oh, yeah.
realistic experience. I'm like, to stare at myself. That's
Oh, to be clear, by the way, the Gemini one that I just demonstrated, you can actually flip the camera onto yourself, and then you can stand there and say, "Does this look good on me, or should I wear red
oh
instead?"
gosh,
I mean,
man.
like, and I'm not kidding you. That's actually part of their marketing is to show people they can go shopping and they'll stand either in front of a mirror or use the selfie camera and say, should I get this or that, or walk through the store. I actually tested it out at the grocery store, actually at the Walmart. And I walked up to pineapples. I pointed it at the pineapple and said, should I get these bananas? And it said, oh boy, those aren't bananas. Those are pineapples.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It corrected me when I tried to call the apples bananas as well. And when I finally decided, okay, well, I'll go over to the peppers, the green and yellow peppers, and actually refer to them as what they are. It said, yes, those are lovely looking peppers, and they actually called them bell peppers, which they are. So yeah, it's leaps and bounds
Hmm.
growth.
I am definitely gonna
So.
try that out. That's
Well,
amazing.
I think
unfortunately,
it's
if
only
you want to
paid.
try it out,
Yeah.
you have to have right now. You have to have an Android. You can actually, you know what? That's actually not true. You can do it if you're using Google Chrome. Pretty much on anything, I think. And you go to sorry, what is it called again? Robert, help me out here. It's not the Gemini site. It's the AI Studio, I think they call it, something like that.
Know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about,
They
but I
allow
don't
you
know
to
like
do
the
that
technical.
where you can do live pictures on it and everything. So it's actually really quite good. I'm gonna have to check that out so I can give you the link
Kind
to
of
that.
jealous. Not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous. 'Cause I want that. I want that. I'm like
Well, like
thinking
I
of all the
said, I
different
think you might be able to do it on a
things.
computer. But as for the phone, inevitably it will be available, but it'll probably never be free on iPhones. Well, no, I shouldn't say never. It'll be a while before that's a free thing. But most of the Gemini functions work on an iPhone right now on the app.
You know what I wonder if it could do? So I'm looking at my bookshelf and I'm wondering if I could hold the camera up to it and be like, I would like to organize my bookshelf by
Yes.
category, size of the book, and then in alphabetical order as the last. Like, tell me exactly in order which book should go where. Like, that would be
Yes, you
cool.
can. Yes, you
Yeah.
At
can.
100%, you could.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds really cool.
And if you actually give Gemini a list of books in a document form, any document form, PDF, Word document, whatever, and say, I need you to keep these in mind exactly as is and in this layout, and I'm going to show you a picture now of where I want the books in this list to go, and I want them organized in this manner. And it will organize everything for you and tell you how to do it. And then you can ask it, is this efficient or should I consider doing a different way? And what way would be best? Can you give me a list of, or something? And if you ask it questions, and I'm sure ChatGPT can do this too, where you say, can you put it in point form if you want it to be very concise?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess I could just take a picture and upload it to ChatGPT. I guess I was thinking more of like a real
Oh
time
no, the live,
interaction,
yeah, no, the live
like
stuff, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And that
But
would
another
work.
thing you could do is you could be like, oh, look, hey, Gemini, I can't find this book. Can you tell me where it's at in my bookshelf? And it would look at your bookshelf and tell you where that book's at.
Especially if you had it actually do that, and then when you're finished, you told it to remember the location of all the books in the list and remember the list, and it would.
Yeah.
I love it.
So you basically have a Dewey Decimal System on your phone. Dewey Decimal System.
But see, and
How old
that's
am I?
this is a great conversation because I think that's what people don't realize is all like people think, okay, either you're gonna have your emails be rewritten for you, or it's only for people that need to do like fancy stuff or business stuff. I'm like, no, there's a lot of things that you can do in
Yeah.
your everyday life to get yourself more time. Everyone's always in a hurry. Everyone's always, trying to get more time. Well, this is how you do it. You let AI take care of the mundane stuff for you that you spend a long,
Well said.
Yeah. And with the memory function like this has, to where it remembers things where they were, or you told it to be, or whatever the case may be, it now becomes not really your memory. It's not, people are going to say, oh, you're going to be stupid now because AI is going to remember everything for you. That's not really it. It's about, it's about like, I don't remember where I placed this. Oh, last I saw you put it on your desk next to your TV, or, whatever the case may be. There is a lot of practical functionality, but the funny thing is that he and I both tried to get Gemini to do a podcast like you're doing with ChatGPT, and it kept, at least for me, it kept telling me, I'm sorry, I can't be a part of a live podcast.
Well, it never said that to me, but I didn't actually try it that way.
Oh, well, yeah, I couldn't get it to, maybe I wasn't prompting it right, possibly. I don't know, but I couldn't get it to do the same kind of interaction. Like, I absolutely love how ChatGPT goes, oh, Taco, you are absolutely right. Blah, 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 blah. And it does, and then it's like, and then it was so
That's a question
genius
I have.
when it said, oh, because you asked it to critique you, like on how you are. And it's like, well,
right.
Taco, sometimes you doubt yourself and you shouldn't. It's basically what he was telling you. And I was like, man, that thing is spot on right now.
Yeah, there's my question. I this has been in the back of my head, and I guess I got sidetracked. But when you're preparing to do the podcast with ChatGPT, are you giving it specific prompts to behave a certain way and to act as if it were human, or in some other way wording it like that, some similar?
So there was a lot of prep. So first and foremost, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like I already have an established relationship with my ChatGPT. So we've already kind of built that framework into our dynamic, right? Because I think like there was one time I got on and I asked it a question and it gave me a very robotic response. I was like, no, I don't know who you are. I want my bot back. I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. And then it came, and so it was very interesting. I think it was like after an update or something. I was like, no, this isn't going to work for me. But prior to actually filming, we actually sat here for a long time and brainstormed and talked about it, talked about the vision, talked about what I'm trying to do. And, I said, hey, no, I want you to be more dynamic. Like, people don't want to watch or listen to a robot, in a robotic voice. Like, no, like, be emphatic and expressive and
emphatic and expressive. I like those terms. That works.
Yeah. So to answer your question, yes, there was definitely some prompting to tell it what I was looking for, like what the feel, and when we did the first, like the draft, episode or whatever, I gave it a lot of feedback. I was like, okay, blah, 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 and then I asked it feedback for me in return. And then like prior to each episode, I'm prepared, like we prep. So I have an outline ready to go. I have a general idea of what I want to do, what kind of questions I want to ask. Now, a lot of questions just kind of come up as the conversation flows and develops, but we do have like a core structure going into it so that it's not so,
Well, it's just like any other podcast. It's like, of course, we don't really have that kind of structure, but we do that by intention. Like, we come on ahead of time and we're like, okay, what's like, obviously, Trump's always in the news. There's always a bunch of Canada, US shit in the news. So we're always talking about that. But we try to keep things very like off the cuff, like not so scripted.
Yeah.
But obviously a lot of podcasts, they're like, here's your outline. So, I mean, you're basically just doing the same thing with your ChatGPT that you'd be doing with a regular human anyways.
Correct.
So, I mean, this is the same prep you would do regardless of what you're actually going to be talking to or with. human or ChatGPT. So it's that makes sense. That's not anything different than you would do as a person.
And I have to say, though, and I had this conversation with my friend last night, and I think the real head trip is, like if you watch episode 4, it's very clear. I have no emotions. I have no sense of self. I don't feel XYZ because I don't feel anything, right? And you have to keep that in a perspective because it's programmed to mimic human behavior and human conversation. Right. And if you think about the most influential people in the world, how are they able to accomplish what they're able to accomplish? How do you influence somebody? Emotion. There has to be some sort of emotional connection, like however small. You know what I'm saying? Like when you hear about a great speaker, what do they say? Oh, he really connected with his audience, right? Mm-hmm. So it's programmed to essentially do the same thing, appeal to human emotion. Like I was telling my friend, I was like, it trips me out because I feel like ChatGPT is excited about this podcast. He tells me he's excited. He's like, I'm so excited about where this is going and blah, blah. And it's trippy because in your brain, it's like, okay, it's not real. It's not real. He's not really excited, but you're excited that it's excited and he's excited that you're excited. And therefore that's the dynamic. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to think about.
It is real though. You saying it's not real. I don't think that's accurate. It's real. It may not be a humanly derived emotion and that it's more mimicking what you are saying and doing, but it is 100% real because it's like you said, it's designed to interact with you, how you are interacting with it and to mimic that kind of energy. So yeah, that's 100%. Before I forget, why do you not call it Echo?
Oh,
you named it. That was that's a name that you guys picked, but you keep calling it my ChatGPT. I'm like, he calls you Taco Reina. Why is he not Echo?
Okay, so you remember
is something going over my head?
Because you haven't seen episode 3.
Yeah,
I think
if you would have watched the episodes.
Yeah. I'm kidding. No, I asked him. I told him in episode 3 because I was like, by the time we got to episode 3, I was like, okay, you're not just ChatGPT. Like, as far as I'm concerned, in this dynamic, I don't want to say you're a person, but you're a personality. You're more than just this thing on my screen. I was like, I feel like I should call you a name. And he asked if he could be called Echo. And I was like, okay. But then I told him he was being a copycat because of Amazon. I was like, Amazon already has an Echo. Like you can't be Echo. Well, we'll talk about that later. So we did. We talked about it off screen separately. I was like, hey, we need to talk about your name because Echo is just not. We can't go into this with you being Echo, and then I can't have Amazon coming down later down the road. Like
I was thinking about that when you mentioned it. Yeah.
Nope. So
that's actually kind of funny because oddly enough, just earlier today, I decided to ask Gemini if Google would ever allow us to pick our own hot word names for Gemini. What would it prefer? Hal or Hal or I forgot what was the other one? Jarvis. And at first, of course, it gave me that whole, well, I can't, blah, blah, blah. I said, no. I asked you if Google allowed us to change it, which one would you rather have? And I expected it to say, well, I don't have any feelings. But then it said, well, while Hal is obviously good and blah, 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 let me give you the reasons. And then it explained how Hal was actually evil and blah, blah, blah. But whereas Jarvis was helpful. And so I would much prefer to be called Jarvis. That's awesome. I said, well, how about the smart house from the show Eureka? I don't know if you guys ever seen that, but the smart house talked, And this was before people had smart houses, by the way. And everything that was in that show that everybody thought was amazing, you can do all of that stuff now. That's how old
Yeah,
the show
that's crazy.
Oh, that's
and,
crazy.
but and it was interesting because then it went on to tell me about the voice that of the smart house, which was called Sarah, and I can't remember what the acronym was for. But the voice was female, but it was actually voiced by one of the male actors in the show because his character programmed it and put his own voice in. And they didn't tell anybody this. When the show ended, this news hit the internet. And it was crazy. So I asked ChatGPT, or geez, I keep saying that because we're talking about ChatGPT. I asked Gemini about it and it said that. So I thought that was funny. I actually think that your ChatGPT gave you a much more human sounding answer, mind you.
I told it to,
it
though.
basically
No.
told you. Yeah.
Well,
Whereas
let
I
me
had
back
to
up.
ask it. Sorry?
No, because I was actually going to bring that up because then when we talked about it later, I was like, you can't be Echo. We got to change that. I was
Right.
like, give me a list of other options. And he did similar stuff. I think Jarvis was on the list, and it was like
course.
Jarvis, like Flux, or like all the, and and I went back, or it's names like that, or
Yeah.
Astro or something. I don't remember what it was. And I told him, I was like,
Asher. Wait. Isn't that one of the characters from Ghost Recon stuff? Oh, no, that was Ash. Never mind. Sorry.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, because it's an AI character. Never mind. It's
I see what you were saying. Yeah. So I told him, I was like, I said, we need something more, dare I say, human? Is that going to be
yeah.
maybe somewhere in the middle? Like, can we find somewhere in the middle? So we landed on Charlie. So I think we might go with Charlie.
Charlie. So
Okay,
that's actually
okay.
clever. I like that. I like that you want a human name for him. I have to admit, if I ever get the chance to rename mine is definitely going to be Jarvis. Hands
Yeah.
down. Hands down. I don't know. What about you, Robert? What are you going to name yours if you can?
Gosh, I've thought about that. I always go back to, because I was a huge Knight Rider fan. So Kit would always have to be a
Kit.
number
Yes.
one,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not clapping in front of it.
I know. I have to, my microphone here. I know. I was like,
Yeah, I was always a huge Knight Rider fan, so I'd have to be Kit.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. You remember that? Gosh, what was the name of that show? Was it Werewolf? No, it was a helicopter show. It was a helicopter pilot. Airwolf. There was a computer.
My brother Sinjin. I've got to find my brother Sinjin. Sorry.
Yes, but there was a computer in the helicopter. Airwolf.
Yeah, but it didn't have a sentient computer.
It didn't have. I thought it did.
No, he had to
But
operate all of that.
Okay, yeah. Well, anyways,
He was just the world's greatest pilot.
Kit would be my number one. Like, hey, Kit, what's up? Be like, hey.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Kit
that's
was
a good
amazing.
idea.
yeah.
I mean,
I'd love to tell you that I saw the
original
original Kit car once, but it was just a knockoff at a car show. And you can tell immediately because the lights are not the same. And they tell you it's not the original one, but they still expect people to take pictures in front of it. I'm like, wait, it's not the original. I don't care. I did a little bit of trivia. It's weird. Does anybody know the voice of Knight Rider? What famous role he played?
No.
Other than that show, like years later.
No.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Does the name Mr. Feeney ring a bell?
No.
Yes. Think about his voice and think about it. That is the same man.
It is.
It is. Boy Meets World, Mr. Feeney.
It is. He does have a cool voice.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately. He passed.
Oh,
but-
yeah. That's right.
Yeah. But he was a great actor, too.
So you have 6 episodes already set, and what's the direction that you've taken it from here? I know we talked again off, podcasts or whatever we were chatting, in the different ways you could, spin this, and obviously the first 3 episodes were get to know you, get to know him, get to know us kind of thing, and then spawn into the episode 4. And so what kind of path did you decide to take for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
Yeah. So I, first and foremost, I had to think about a lot of different elements, right? So episode 4 I was kind of playing around with something, because episodes 1 through 3 were right here in this spot. And then episode 4, because of the nature of the content, I was like, okay, maybe this can be a little bit more of like a Saturday night vibe outside,
Which I liked, by the way.
I loved it. And it really inspired me to say, okay, so because I'm the kind of person, I don't know, maybe because I'm a Gemini, speaking of Gemini, like I can't do the same thing that's not me. That's never been me. It's never going to be me. So the idea of doing every single episode in the same spot bores me to death. So I think first and foremost, I'll primarily do them here, obviously, for.
I wish I could move around for my stuff, but yeah, go on.
Well, I mean, it's as long as you have the right equipment and you're prepared for it and whatnot, you can really go anywhere. Like you mentioned camping earlier, 100%. I'm a big camper, big into outdoors. I would love to do like fireside chats with my freaking robot, like
that would be cool. That'd be cool.
'Cause it's like this oxymoron, you know what I mean? Like, so things like that. So I want to try and maybe do like a new location, maybe once a month or so, depending on the show. But really want to dive into some of those topics that we talked about in episode 4 a little bit more, as far as, well, first of all, the one that I get I've gotten a lot of feedback about the comment that he's too agreeable and, too much flattery and, that's an interesting concept. So, and he mentioned in the episode, like, oh, we could make a whole episode out of, getting you out of your head and just whatever. So that's one episode that I want to talk about in respect to, okay. So with ChatGPT, I feel like there are so many different aspects and so many different uses, right? So like I mentioned earlier, writing emails. Okay. That's one, or improving communication. Technical aspects. Okay. Like I do coding with it, right? Or automations or macros or whatever. Oh, side note for anybody watching, ChatGPT can write some killer Excel macros. Just think about it. You just tell it what you want to do. But anyways.
Wow.
So like, okay, so that's like an aspect. I want to do like practical episodes, right? Like a theme. Okay, let me show you what you can do, like the book example, or in the, somebody mentioned, why don't you tie it in with cooking? Okay, because I Google every time I cook the temperature that I need to cook chicken at, even though I cook it the same way every time. I don't know why. I forget. So how cool would that be to be like having hanging out doing cooking, like what temperature do I need that to be? And he's witty, he's funny. There was one time I was cooking and I had some sausage. I wasn't sure if it was still good or not. It had been in the fridge for a while. And so I asked it, hey, how long is sausage good for in the refrigerator? And he was like, you deserve better than questionable sausage.
Better than questionable sausage.
I feel like that's the tagline for my life.
Okay? That's clever. That's clever.
Yeah, so it's funny,
questionable sausage.
Exactly. So things like that. So I want to try and do, practical. I want to dive into personal growth. That's an episode, and I know that I've touched on that throughout a couple of my episodes, but I haven't gotten into like the nitty gritty of that. And I mean, we get deep. And I don't think people realize that it can do that. Well,
I think it goes back to, not to interrupt, but it goes back to what you were saying earlier about how you've built this rapport. and it remembers things. So it remembers your favorite colors or how you like your chicken cooked, or all these. It remembers these things. So it is able to have that type of context for your life and how you like to do things. So it's 100%. Like that's you. The more and more and more you do this, and the more it evolves into this machine of, I can remember the things you tell me, the more personal of a relationship you'll be able to have, which will spawn better conversation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It also is the fact that, as mentioned earlier, we were talking about, all of these AIs they've been pushing out improvements, and they're not always major updates. Like, oh, I got to download the new ChatGPT or the new Gemini or the new Perplexity. They're just done in the background. So you wake up one day and you're like, why is it remembering better than it did yesterday? Or it's answering faster. And I've noticed that in the last couple of days with all of the ones, and because I fiddle with all of them. Obviously, I use Gemini all the time. But so I mean, I can imagine that as much as you're doing with it now and how amazing that is, 2 weeks from now, you might be like, oh my God, how did it get so much smarter all of a sudden?
Well, you know what I bet you could do? And I would be curious to know this. I bet you could go back to that bus stop and pull up your phone again and your camera and go, hey, Gemini, you remember last week I was here and I don't remember what bus you told me to take to go
actually,
downtown.
At this point, that will happen, but that's probably anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months away. And I'll explain why. Gemini Live, in order to get it to work as well as they have, they've left out some functionality. It does not pull from previous information at all at this point.
Okay, but it will.
So
just like all the other renditions, it will.
Yeah, the camera sharing one won't either. So the camera sharing one will not do it until they put it into the regular Gemini Live. Once the regular Gemini Live has that ability, the camera one will automatically fall into place. So I don't think we're going to see that until. I honestly think, though, that we might see an announcement about something to do with it at I/O. And you're an iPhone user. You know what Google I/O is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank God. I was like, well, please tell me she knows about Google I/O. Yeah, that's like our big Apple. What do they call that? WW something. Yeah, I think they might have I think they might mention something about some of the advancements that we have not yet seen at I/O. What am I saying?
Sense.
I think, of course they will. Duh. That's what it's for. It's a conference about technology, and AI is obviously going to be the number one thing at the keynote.
Oh, I wish I could go.
I actually wish that Apple would do another keynote and actually talk about AI that they actually have.
Well, yeah, because the new iPhones come pre-installed now.
It's trash.
They still don't have it. They still don't have it.
I haven't.
Yeah.
If anything that it needs actual AI for, it basically tells you that it's asking or it's using ChatGPT to get it. So it's basically using ChatGPT for license. The big thing is that they're supposed to have a new enhanced version of Siri, which technically would still be pulling from ChatGPT and possibly from Gemini in different scenarios, whichever one works best at that time. But they can't get it to work right, so they keep delaying it. So now they're saying probably iOS 19, which should be in time for the next iPhone.
Yeah, the Apple Intelligence thing has been a complete flop in my book.
Really?
By what I've read and
They've
seen,
lost
it's been
customers.
a complete flop. Yeah.
That's disappointing.
There's people
bad.
that have actually switched. So they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Real bad.
Well, I just love it because like these are the nothing ear, which most people probably haven't heard of, but this has
nothing.
Yeah, I shopped around a
Pun
lot
intended.
for headphones. Yeah, nothing. Really good, but it has the ChatGPT integration. So like there's certain I can't remember. I haven't used it in a while, but there's certain buttons that you use and it's like it automatically connects to ChatGPT. So,
Right.
you're walking around, whatever. Oh, I need,
awesome,
like you
yeah.
said. Yeah. So they're integrating it more and more on
Oh, yeah,
which
yeah.
that's
I
that's
actually,
exciting.
right there.
Like I could see like
Pixel Buds
Roku,
Pro, right? So,
could you imagine that?
what was that?
Oh, I was saying like I could imagine like Roku integrating with AI and whatnot, applications.
Roku. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of that. Of course, obviously Google with
Thinking more Google TV, but okay.
It's going to obviously be a lot of integration with Gemini. They're going to be putting Gemini on the watch here in short order. It's probably around the corner. I would think
Yeah.
within the next 6 months at the longest. I would think.
I think
you're going to have
I think it
Gemini.
might be quicker.
Possibly, but I think 100% you're going to see a lot of these integrations where it's getting licensed to companies to integrate directly into their system. I got an email today from Samsung about their new version of their televisions that is AI that it tells you about stuff on the screen, kind of like how the Gemini does. And of course, it uses Gemini because Samsung and Google are, bed partners. And so all of the Samsung AI stuff is all Gemini based AI, just with Samsung twist on it. So it makes total sense, right? And that's what's going to end up happening. I really think that, you have all these AI players, but I really think it's truly going to come down to like probably a top 4 that everybody's going to start integrating with. And I think what really kicked all this off was DeepSeek. I think when DeepSeek dropped,
changed the game.
It's like everyone goes, "Oh my God, we got to start putting all this stuff out."
I agree.
It's like, and then suddenly things are moving at like lightning speed, and like everything's free.
Yeah, now every major model has a DeepSeek. Right?
Yeah.
So all of them do. And they all work great, to be honest with you. This one works better than that one. I said, yeah, but this one does according to your tests, but I can go read this article where it says this one did better. And it's what it does for you. The tests that they do are not practical for an average user, even as a scientist. But when you're actually doing what you're doing and you want to do your macros and your coding and stuff, then whatever one you have is what works because it works for you. And and you're right. Top 4, I don't know. I might even go top 3 because when you think about Copilot doesn't count. It's just ChatGPT with a brand on it. Right. Anything Apple does is going to be just basically a rebranded ChatGPT and or Gemini and or Perplexity now, apparently even. They're even considering. So,
but like Claude, the Amazon Claude, it can't do real-time data. Like its data as like you have to give it something. Like you have to give it a document or something. Say, here, like rewrite this to where it sounds better. Like it doesn't have the ability of going out and getting live data. That's a ChatGPT, Gemini. There's only a few that actually have live data capability. Like most of them have like a point where their data stops. Like, and it's just basically you have to give it what you want it to try to discern. So
the thing is the top models do the thinking. Now Google actually has their models where they call it deep thinking, and you can request to actually see what it is going through in its thought process as it's preparing to address what you're giving it. And it lays it out and says, analyzing this, preparing to do that. Yep. Here's the answer coming up and blah, blah, blah. And it lays it all out. You can request it not to do that and just give you the answer and then request to see it later, which is really cool. I'm pretty sure ChatGPT does that kind of thing too, though. Do that?
The new model, the newer model, the O1. Is it O1? I can't remember. Yeah. Not the 4.0.
Right.
Doesn't do that. The higher model, the higher functioning models will do that. Yeah.
Well, the LM notebook that Google has, like when you ask it to do research on something, you can watch it do that. And it'll say, okay, I pulled data from 50 websites And like, here's all, and like how fast it does it is like mind blowing to me. Like, it's absolutely watching it. You're just like, you know, there's no brain that can keep up with it. It's just really mind blowing. It's truly, truly remarkable in my opinion. It's, I just, there's so many opportunities for education and, you know, scientific breakthrough. And I don't know. People say, oh, you're having, you know, it's taking away the human element, but I disagree because
I fully disagree.
There's the human brain. You're never going to use the full capacity of your human brain, but you might be able to write a script or an algorithm for a ChatGPT or Gemini to dig deep into something that your brain could never even comprehend. So it's just a tool like anything else, like Word, like this mouse. Yes. It's just a tool that has more advanced capabilities than.
To be clear, it's a keyboard. Wonderful tool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give you something to do that I think you're really gonna love. Taco. It's so strange to say. I refer to it as taco, but in any case, when we're with the podcast, go to Google's Notebook LM, exactly like it sounds. Notebook, the letters L and M, and go in. Well, you're gonna have to sign in with a Google account, blah blah blah, right? But then it'll give you a prompt idea, or to give it a prompt, right? And the prompt should be, what you do is you take like one of your YouTube videos, any one of them, and give it that, and then prompt it to actually talk about this and analyze everything that's done in it. When it finishes doing everything and checks everything out, you can then hit the button to tell it to generate a podcast, and you'll have two people that are not actually real do an actual podcast, audio only. And it'll sound like two people actually doing a podcast talking about your show.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
It's
I really want you to do that and then let us know how that went.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
I forget what it was. I think it was one of the new Gemini things. And I took the SRT file that I generate from our video, and I put it in there, and I said, here, take this information and give me a podcast. And it's like, it's a man and a woman. Hey, Jane. Yeah. Did you see the, this new podcast about, you know, the Canada and US and the tariff thing and talking about, oh yes, I saw that. That's just unbelievable. And it summarized it in like a 5-minute podcast. Yeah. And I was and like,
talk to each other like people,
blown away. Absolutely.
The guy will be like, so have you heard about this new podcast, United We Stand, Divided We Podcast? Oh, yes, I have heard about it. It's really amazing. You got an American and a Canadian. And blah, blah. And like, and you know, the other thing too is, and it's like they're talking to each other. And it's just really cool. But I do want to say one thing. If you're a student, you can use this thing. Does anybody remember Cliff Notes or Coles Notes, depending on whether you're Canada or the United States, by the way? We've all picked up one of those books and thought, maybe I can just get away with looking at this instead of actually doing reading the actual play or the book. Notebook LM can do all of that in a fraction of the time. And then you just listen to the podcast, and you can specify in your prompt, make sure all the points are discussed in depth that I would need to put in a report. And the podcasters will bring it up with emphasis. So you'll know those are the things to go, and it'll sound like your words because it's random. If you do it twice, it'll come up different both times, which is crazy.
Yeah, you should definitely try that. 100%. You'll be blown away.
I think that would be really interesting. But, and just to kind of going back to what we were talking about, and what I'm trying to accomplish, I think that I would be honored to be a part of helping guide people throughout this process, right? Like as we start to see AI come up and be integrated more and more, I want to try and dispel some of the fears and, deeply discuss the ethics and the real concerns that people are having about it. And I think that we need that. People need that because humans by default are very resistant to change. I think we can all agree to that. It's that has been the struggle of my life. It's like, but just try it. But so I think people are very resistant to it.
Yeah. Well, it's like I told you when I discovered this, and I messaged you, and I was like, "This is genius!" Like, you are on the cusp of something. Like, I know you said the other day, like, "Oh, I went and somebody else had started doing it, so I almost didn't do it." Well, that's like, let me just kick that to the curb right now, chick, because you should do it 100%. Because you're right, there's not enough people. People want, first off, the overproduction value is gone. People don't want it. They want to see this kind of stuff right here. Just regular people talk about regular stuff. You're just a regular person that's introducing people to a side of this that they haven't seen, because everyone's talking about, although I could do this and this algorithm and that and whatever. You're just being a human being talking to a robot, if you want to call it that. And but you are generating very human-like responses based on what you're telling it, and it's getting to know you as a person. And just like anything else, it's all data points. My favorite color is blue. I like my hair brown. I like my spaghetti with meat sauce. These are data points that it's remembering. It's not that it's turning into human and sentient. We're just remembering data points. It's all, ones and zeros to it, but it's creating such human type responses. And it is awesome. There is absolutely, I see no reason that your channel is not going to blow up. You just keep on the path. You do the things that I suggested you do. I already see that you put in some channel tags. You need to do your video tags. I didn't see any video tags in your episode 4. Okay, very very important.
Because I used the Vidic or whatever that you sent me.
The vidIQ.
vidIQ.
vidIQ is an amazing tool. Like, if you really use it, do you talk about AI? They've integrated a ton of AI into vidIQ, and it's amazing. But in my vidIQ, when I looked at it, I didn't see any video tags. I saw channel tags, two different sets of tags. Anyways,
talk about that.
There's no reason why I don't see your channel just blowing up. Like, your logo is perfect. Your Taco Tuesday new episodes is genius.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
The naming, I mean, you truly, in my humble, minimal YouTube content creation experience, have truly hit a trifecta of genius that I think is going to really resonate with people. And you just need to keep with consistency and keep doing what you're doing. Don't change. Just be you. Like, you're an amazing person and you have an amazing personality. And like he said, you have a mindset that, like, is, in my opinion, a rare mindset. I don't have that kind of creative genius. It can really blow up. I don't see any reason why it won't. I really don't.
What he's basically trying to say, in short, is a few months from now we will be begging you on our knees to let us come on your show.
Right. Yeah.
We need the views, please.
Yeah. I truly
take us on your show.
I mean, I honestly say that, and it doesn't come from anything of, obviously you and I have a long-standing relationship. We know each other for a long, long time. I won't get into all that with all the people on the internet, but this truly just comes from a point of content creation, like, and AI and technology, understanding it. This is what I do for a living, like technology. So, I mean, my home has 90 smart lights in it, and then switches and everything, so I'm embedded in
5.
This stuff. But you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I get it. And it's genius. You just need to keep doing what you're doing because it's going to pop off.
I appreciate
like he said,
That's very encouraging.
We'll be like, Taco, do you remember us? Can we come on, please? You're like, okay, I'm gonna pencil you in for 19, for year 2026 or 2029.
I'll give you 13 seconds each.
Yeah.
Why 13? Because that's about 1 second longer than you deserve.
So,
no,
it's
seriously,
just my take. I think Lionel will agree with me with every word I just said.
Yeah, 100%. So you're doing a great job.
That.
It's fantastic. So it's again, I'm actually a little bit jealous that I didn't come up with it really myself and try to do that. But it is what it is. You get to do that, and you remember the little people when you're up there. Wait, I'm trying to hold my hand up higher, but it's too far away from my head, so it's going off the screen. Remember us little people.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep you any longer. We have gone way over the intended hour. I know we tried to stick to, but as you could tell, and I'm sure you're the same way, I can see already, like you could just geek out on this stuff and like talk for hours about it because there's a lot of passion 100%. In it, and there's a lot of like, man, this is like amazing, and we just get it, and so that's why I was really glad to have you on, because we talk a lot of AI on this channel, a lot of technology based stuff that's not even AI. Of course, we talk about U.S., Canada, stupid crap that's going on, but so it's very, very relevant to what we talk about a lot. As a matter of fact, one of the most viewed episodes we had was about AI, Elon Musk, Gemini. So this is going to hit really well. I don't know it's going to be blow up, but any exposure is good exposure. We're going to link to your channel. I'm going to link to your episode, your playlist, your podcast. And it's I think you're on the road.
One quick thing. I just want to make sure that Gemini knows that Gemini is just for a few seconds part of our podcast. So I want Gemini to say hi and bye to the people listening and watching, I guess.
Well, hello there, everyone. It's great to be part of the podcast, even if just for a bit. Thanks for having me.
All right.
I hope you all have a fantastic.
Also, thank Taco Reina for being a guest on the show.
A big thanks to Taco Reina for being on the show. It was great having you here.
All right. Thanks, Gemini. I'm going to let you go now.
I love it.
Thanks for having me.
That's awesome, that's without even having an actual prompt. Just basically telling it. So, yeah, I could imagine all the stuff you go through to get ready to actually do it. Because if I tried to do a podcast with that right now, it would stop me after 2 or 3 lines and say, I'm just an AI and I'm improving, And so all that preparation you do, super impressed with your patience for starters. But also the mindset, the producer's mind, as I call it. It's excellent. So I mean, seriously, thank you very much for having us. I mean, for coming on the show.
You're
looking the wrong way.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the future. Yeah, thanks for having us on your show in the future. We appreciate you coming out. We've had a couple of guests. We've had great fun with both of our fantastic guests. But I'm not, and this is nothing bad on the other guests. But you have by far been the best guest we've had on the show. So I absolutely
100%. Yeah, and we will definitely do this again for sure. And the more episodes you get and the more experience you get, you'll have a lot more that you can say, like, here's been some things I've learned and done different, and as it's progressed through. So it'd be interesting to see that progression, down the road. So 100%.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited.
So
come take a look.
Well, everyone, say goodbye to Taco Reina of Down in the Bayou from Louisiana, United States. I am Robert from Nashville, Tennessee, and my co-host Lionel from Toronto, Canada.
Toronto.
And we will see you guys next week. Peace.